lads across the land were hung up on her. It
Oh
was
yeah.
it was the clean cut or not clean cut. So it was Farrah Fawcett, a bit later than that with Debbie Harry, or Siouxsie Sue. There were like two of the key sort of images that adorned bedroom walls. That and the tennis player scratching her ass.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. This is Andy, the fellow over there is John, and we are here for one reason and one reason only: to take over the world. Nah, I'm just kidding. We're going to listen to $1 million. We're going to listen to a song here of John's choosing. So John, you've gone into the vault, you've dusted it off. What have you got for us, Dr. Jones?
Well, actually, I've gone into my secret underground hollow volcano location to get this one.
Yes. Sticking with the theme, I see.
I'm still not happy with that fake water on the top. It still looks like metal, but anyway, I'm being picky. So yeah, it's a band that we covered not too long ago. Siouxsie and the Banshees.
Oh, okay. Siouxsie and her band of loud ones. All
Yeah.
right. What is the name of the track?
So you may not be familiar with this song, but anyone who has a fondness for Banshees and their leader will know this track. It's called Spellbound.
Okay. Sounds spellbinding. I will go off and give it a listen and come back, let you know what I think after my head is clear and the trance is lifted.
Good luck with that.
Right.
From the cradle bars comes a beckoning voice, the same spinning. You have no choice.
The tambourine doesn't get enough credit. That was a really fun way of introducing itself in a very cheeky way and then becoming very much in the front of the song. And also just kind of like ushering in the drums proper as things kind of get going. That was cool. I dug that. And fun little bass stuff in the beginning.
Bars comes a beckoning voice, the same spinning. You have no choice.
I feel like I am astride a horse that is going full belt. Yeah, this is like rhythmic and like galloping pace. I like it.
You hear laughter cracking through the walls, the same spinning. You have no choice. You hear laughter cracking through the walls, the same spinning. You have no choice. Following the footsteps of the red dawn, once we are entranced. Spellbound. Following the footsteps of the red dawn, once we are entranced. Spellbound, 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 oh, oh. Spellbound, 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 spellbound. And don't forget when your elders forget to say that.
I can't get Geddy Lee out of my head for some reason, but I know we're dealing with two very different people. but that sounds like it could easily break out into today's Tom Sawyer, like the same pitch register. Yeah, this is such a rhythmic song though. Like it's shifting every part that is building this thing. All of them are so rhythmic to me in their own ways. Some faster pace, some a bit more reined in, but all very, very rhythmic. Like I said, I mean, that one part felt like I was, in a Wild West film. It was just like this galloping horse off into the horizon. Yeah, this is a lot of fun, a lot of movement in this piece.
Take them by the legs and throw them down the stairs. When you think your toys have gone berserk, it's an illusion. You cannot share your hair laughter, cracking through the walls and then spinning. You have no choice, following the footsteps of a red dawn of the orange coast. Spellbound, following the footsteps of a red dawn of the orange coast. Spellbound, 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 oh oh. Spellbound, 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 spellbound. Following the footsteps of a red dawn, we are in trance. Following the footsteps of a red dawn, we are in trance.
Yeah, that you couldn't tell me that the intention was not to make a very rhythmic song when they were creating this number, and I loved it. It was almost have to buckle up though, right? If you're not expecting that, I wasn't, and perhaps I should have when I saw the timestamp like 3:20. I knew this thing was going to be probably like a ball of knives, and it was a lot of awesome moving, like different pieces to it all. Drums working overtime in a lot of this, and it was just a great another glimpse into the sounds of Siouxsie and the Banshees. This is the, I think, second or third song of theirs that I've listened to, and yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Outside of the Spellbound and the sound of the voice, again, I was more just swept up in the rhythms and the movements in this song. But I mean, the voice sounded great. It was just it was hard for me to grasp onto lyrics when I was in a whirlwind of this like rhythmic tsunami. So, yeah, let's get back to John and chop this one up.
So you're back, and as my old grandmother used to say, it's better to be spellbound than eggbound. So what did you think?
Wise woman. I enjoyed this one. If what will hypnotize you are rhythms, then I can understand why this song is named Spellbound. And I'm probably going to use variants of the word rhythm a lot in my synopsis of this when I go through my notes. So, ironically enough, the first thing I notice is actually not so much rhythmic as much as it is this flanger-affected guitar picking that kicks things off, coupled with some like single note strikes counterbalancing it, that are either done low on a guitar or high on a bass. I wasn't 100% sure given first listen. And then there's this the first introductory of a rhythm instrument, and it's the little engine that could in the tambourine, everyone's favorite underdog. So the tambourine comes in, and it's kind of like peeking in at first, and then it starts to like make its way into the room, and then it commands everybody's attention like a chihuahua. The little thing just gets loud, and then what that does is it kind of like says, "Come on, drums, follow me." And it kicks things off, and then the next thing you know, the drums are picking up right as this thing is like climaxing, this tambourine sound. As kind of like this, it's almost like a harbinger for the drums. Like, you know, if you like this, wait till they kick in, and the drums kick in proper, and here we are. We're in the throes of this very rhythmic song. So the tempo picks up and the song kicks into this rhythmic gallop. And that is like one word I would use to try and describe this tune as a whole, like rhythmic. So much pace play, drum dynamics, and tempo shifting throughout this one.
Yeah.
And hell, even the guitars, for the most part, despite that little introductory bit, are very much used exclusively as rhythm instruments. For probably 90% of their work in the song.
Yeah.
And there's this like effect, is effective in this building movement while also keeping the listener on their toes. It really never lets the listener settle into the song or any one part of the song. Just when you're about to, something changes.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like the sort of unease that you get, like you think you're familiar and then all of a sudden you're thrown a curveball. And it stays moving, and I would assume it was written like this intentionally with the goal of keeping the audience moving as well. There is this frenetic, almost volatile sound to this song, and it's far from static. And doesn't allow for ambient soundscapes, which I'm also a huge fan of, and we've done plenty of songs that have those. None of this ethereal resonance that we've also found and adored in other songs, which isn't to say because they don't have it and I adore those things that I can't adore this. This is great. But it's just a little divergent of a lot of the stuff that we've done lately. When playing this tune, like, it's sort of the musical equivalent of Electron around a nucleus. It never really ceases to move. It's just in a constant state of motion. And that has a lot of energy, which explains the timestamp as well. This isn't one of this isn't one of John's epics that he's offered up to me here. So I had a feeling that this was gonna be like, you know, your typical ball of knives, like. And it kind of was that, you know what I mean? And outside of the title, I can't catch much of what Siouxsie had to say, but I have to come clean here. And do you remember when I can't remember who it was, but you had drawn a correlation to Richard Marx
yes.
to one of the songs, and it was very not a Richard Marx song, but the vocal delivery reminded you of Richard Marx.
It was your banjo men, you know, with the sort of updates, sort of country poison, poor man's poison.
Yes, poor man's poison. Okay.
It was just that first 4 lines.
Yeah.
Put me in the mood.
Well, get ready for a doozy, because there were times in her delivery here, and God, I know that this band has so many fun that I'm just gonna get. If you could throw eggs and Rotten Tomatoes at your screen, it's about to happen. But my God, she sounded a lot like Geddy Lee of Rush. Like if she started singing today's Tom Sawyer, I would have been like, she's got the perfect tone for that and pitch. Because he had this very high-pitched voice, you know what I mean? So I was like, my God, get that out of your head, Andy. No one is going to appreciate that observation. And yet it was in my frontal lobe and I had to get it out. So
well, I will just say, you know, I'm not overly familiar with Rush. What I've heard of Rush, I haven't appreciated. I didn't think you would. They're too proggy for you. But there's a couple of songs which I kind of know, and you're in the ballpark. I can see that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
This says more about him than about her. I'd say.
Okay. I thought I was going to be talking to an empty chair by the time I got through that observation. But that being said, so I didn't catch a lot of the lyrical meat on the bones on this one. So you're going to need to kind of like fill that out for me. But what I did get was a very rhythmic skeleton of a song. And if it's like if the idea is to get the audience to go from anywhere from feeling unease or like what is happening here with the rhythms, or to just get them out of their seat and moving and like to dance or whatever, this it had to have had a pretty high success rate, because this thing is always moving around, and I really appreciated that aspect of the song probably more than any other bit of the song, not to diminish those other parts of it or, you know, aspects or attributes. But that's what, as a bass player and a rhythm guy, that's what stuck with me. I'm like, oh man, this is like all over the map. So I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, so okay, thanks for that. Yeah, I really agree with a lot of what you said. So we already covered one of the songs off this album called Monitor, which is probably my favorite of the album. It's the same album. So what I'll do is put a link in the description to that previous episode. So we go in detail about Siouxsie and the Banshees, the band, the very wonderful John McGough as well, the guitarist who's responsible for the sound of a lot of this album. So you can check that out and get all the background and all the stuff. I won't hone in on this so much. So just to say, this is, as I say, from this landmark 1981 post-punk album, Juju. And the personnel: Siouxsie Sue, vocals, John McGill, guitar, Stephen Cedrin, bass, and Budgie on drums and percussion. Now, there was a couple of versions of this, and there's a really, really nice one where they play it live in the Royal Albert Hall, and it's Mr. Robert Smith on lead guitar. And it's very atmospheric, and Susie's banging her tambourine for all it's worth, and Robert Smith is really concentrating hard and doesn't move an inch at all throughout the whole thing. And you've got, I don't know if you know the setting, the Royal Albert Hall, but you've got sort of the alcove bits all around in the round.
Yeah.
And then you see sort of young post-punkers dancing away and writhing to the beats to this. And it's really nice setting. But, and this is no offense of Mr. Smith, who you know I rate very highly, the guitars aren't quite as good on that video as on just straight cuts. So I thought I'd just give you the straight, album version. So that's why I did that. Yeah. This is, in terms of the Siouxsie and the Banshee catalogue, this is a big song of theirs. It was the first single off this album, and it reached number 22 in the UK charts, which was, again, pretty good going for this kind of, outsider band at the time. Mm-hmm. It has got a certain feel to it, and I think at the time the sort of introduction of those guitars, so you say galloping, was again something a bit different, and it was a sound which would have stopped a lot of people in their tracks at the time. We've heard a lot of it since, but it was really quite special at then. And it adds to this overall feel, this frenetic energy, as you say, but it's almost like one of those ones where you're running away from something in a nightmare. It has that eerie quality as well. Yeah. And then the lyrics will kind of explain that. So what I'll do is I'll just go through the lyrics, and then you get a bit of a slightly more of an idea. There's certain imagery in it. From the cradle bars comes a beckoning voice. It sends you spinning. You have no choice. You hear laughter cracking through the walls. It sends you spinning. You have no choice. You hear laughter cracking through the walls. It sends you spinning. You have no choice. Following the footsteps of a ragdoll dance, we are entranced, spellbound. Following the footsteps of a ragdoll dance, we are entranced, spellbound. Spellbound, spellbound. Oh, whoa, spellbound. Spellbound, spellbound, spellbound. And don't forget, when your elders forget to say their prayers, take them by the legs and throw them down the stairs. and that's when when you think your toys have gone berserk, it's an illusion you cannot shirk. You hear laughter cracking through the walls. It sends you spinning. You have no choice. Following the footsteps of a ragdoll dance, we are entranced, spellbound. Following the footsteps of a ragdoll dance, we are entranced, spellbound, spellbound, spellbound. Whoa, spellbound, 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 spellbound. Following the footsteps of a ragdoll dance, we're entranced. Following the footsteps of a ragdoll dance, we are entranced, 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 entranced. So there's a lot of imagery of sort of childlike imagery there with the toys and the cradle bars, etc. One sort of position on there, so that it's the sort of romantic confusion and, you know, the scariness of being in love, but seen through the eyes of a child in a nightmarish scenario, like equating the two things. And that's where you get this overall, and it fits in with the sort of the early Gothic sort of atmosphere as well, of this sort of creepy Gothic Poe-esque sort of, you know, atmosphere, of a sort of nightmarish condition. And that's the scariness of, you know, forming a romantic illusion with somebody else, the scary unknown. So you have these images which are straight out of a, you know, crappy sort of horror TV show. You know,
you talked about pushing the old person down the steps or whatever. I had like Chucky on the brain instantly, like some child's play.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Well, with the next line after that, I mean, it says, sorry, just say again, don't forget when your elders forget to say their prayers, take them by the legs and throw them down the stairs. And then the next line is when you think your toys have gone berserk. You know, so, you know,
when you think your toy is possessed by the soul of a serial killer, there you go. I mean,
yeah. So there you go. And it's this spellbound, you know, so it's quite sort of this cod, you know, imagery, but it's really wonderfully done. And yeah, whenever there is any of these sort of votes or compilations, you know, vote for your best Siouxsie the Banshees song, this sits atop of the pile every single time. It is the most beloved.
Really? That's interesting.
And they got some, don't get me wrong, not everything they do is wonderful, but they've got some bangers in their catalogue. They really have. And, you know, this is a massive fan favorite. And I will just say, we spoke about the guitars and how sort of forward thinking and sounding they were at the time. But this album as a whole, Spellbound's the opener, is the first single. You've got a really nice track after that, Into the Light. And then the second single, Arabian Nights, which is another sort of key song of theirs, which would be in the top 5 of their best songs. Then there's Halloween, which I think Greg actually listened to on Into the Music. It was a viewer recommendation or Ko-fi request. And then Monitor, which is probably my favorite. Night Shift is a wonderful song. Sins in My Heart is a brilliant song as well. Headcut. And then probably the Duff one, the only Duff one, Voodoo Dolly, which is really self-indulgent gothic bullshit, you know. Yeah. So I mean, it's it's a really, really, really great album. And in terms of like British musical landscape, really important as well. Yeah. So yeah, I thought I'd give you this, and I hope that some of the viewers of the channel will enjoy this as well. It's a banger, you know, it really is. Yeah,
I liked it a lot.
What my intention is they did some okay stuff. The album after this is pretty good as well, and then they developed their sound later, and there's a later single pre-Batman. There's a later single which is something else as well, and it's very different, which I'm intend to give you in a few weeks' time.
Okay.
And fans of Siouxsie and the Banshees will probably know which one I'm talking about. Very, very different. She even cut her hair into a bob for this.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, and there's a fantastic clip of them performing said song on Top of the Pops, where I have to say her performance is quite something as well. She's always. I will get round to showing you some sort of live of them performing, because you really get the essence of Siouxsie Sue watching her perform.
I'm under the impression that she's a bit of a like for lack of a better term, and I hope it's not taken as a pejorative, but like a character. Like she's
she's a force of nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
I look forward to that.
the look, the gothic look was, lads across the land were hung up on her. It was it was the clean cut or not clean cut. So it was Farrah Fawcett, probably later than that with Debbie Harry, or Siouxsie Sue. They were like two of the key sort of images that adorned bedroom walls. That and the tennis player scratching her ass. Yeah. So get away from that. This is really, it is. I can't understate how important this album is in terms of development of British alternative music.
Mm-hmm.
And branching off post-punk, gothic, etc. And John McGeown, wonderful guitarists. Not that Robert Smith's any slouch either.
Yeah, and I remember really loving the guitars on my first sort of foray into their sound. This it was Budgie on the drums that had
yes, it was it's much more an overall thing, isn't it? It's all rounded into a what purpose rather than here's the star, Budgie is a very effective drummer, I should say. He has his thing, and what he does really well.
Yes, it wasn't that what was happening on the drums was like unprecedented or anything I hadn't heard before, but it was how it shifted so quickly before the listener could build a level of comfort with what was being established. It was like, all right, now we're on to this thing. Oh, you think you got it? Now we're doing this.
And now he knows how to push the buttons as well. That sort of, the thing. And like you're saying, it's that sense of unease which they're trying to convey as well. Well,
it's with the now that I've heard the lyrics and the motif of the song and the theme, it checks out completely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I shall wrap things up. Thanks, Andy, for listening to Spellbound by Siouxsie Sue and her fellow wailing Banshees. Folks out there, tell us what you think of Spellbound. Is it your favourite Siouxsie the Banshees song? As long as it's not that, what was that one? Cities in Dust? Batman, that wasn't great. But it gave them all the money they wanted, so fair enough. But let us know what you think. Which are your favourite Siouxsie song. And other albums as well, other tracks. That time when they did The Passenger down at Port, whatever it's called, where The Prisoner was filmed, that was epic as well. And that whole Through the Looking Glass album is actually really cool. They did an album of cover versions. So This Wheel's on Fire, Passenger Iggy Pop, Trust in Me from the Disney film, all sorts of stuff that's really, really great. So let us know what you think. If you like this, hit the like button and it will make your day. Guaranteed all your money back. Drop us some comments, as I said. And if you haven't subscribed already, wow, what a fool you look now. I mean, come on, it's time to save yourself. Subscribe. And it will all make sense when you wake up in the morning. Somewhere just off Brighton. Wearing someone else's shoes. But how did that happen? But anyway, good luck. That being said, thanks so much for watching. And we shall see all of you the next time through the round window on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you guys.